Hi there, welcome. This is my weekly reflections. I call it Wow, What a Ride. And I'm wanting to talk about transitions today, mostly because the weather, there's so much we can learn about ourselves from the weather. I'm laughing because I think it's so funny. But here's what I'm learning. So let me share that with you. Transitions don't happen in a moment. Like with lipedema, with lymphedema, with all of the things we deal with, they're gradual. Everything is so gradual. And then at one point you realize that it's different, that there's been a change. I can say that about my mobility, for instance. It wasn't an overnight process where my mobility became increasingly more challenging, where I needed to use some support. And I had a cane for a while. I still have a cane, and I still use the cane, but I sometimes use a walker. I don't use a walker, I use a rollator walker because someone in the community told me about it, and it was so much easier than the big doohickey that I had at one point. I had one where you could sit. I don't need to sit generally. I really use it only when I have a long-ish walk somewhere. Like for instance, when I go to the pool, I need the rollator to get from the car to the dressing room to the pool. It's a long enough walk that I can't do it with just a cane. Um, or when I go to the hospital to get my blood work done, um, or like that. So it's only certain times that I know I'm going to have to walk, and it's not even that it's such a long walk. I remember walking for an hour with a friend of mine. We used to go for walks all the time. But it wasn't an overnight thing that it got less and less. I became less and less adept at being able to go on those walks. When I first started to walk with my friend John, we would walk for an hour. We were, um, I was living in Cambridge. We would go to the river. We would go when the weather wasn't so great. We would go to MIT. I love MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I love the place. And you could walk within MIT for long distances. Like we could walk for an hour without ever having to go outside because it's a labyrinth of underground tunnels. So, what I'm talking about in terms of transitions. Hi, Jenny. Good to see you. Is that it's a gradual process. And so is it the other way. So, when I was getting sick, not so much, well, that still. So, when I got sick, it was more acute. It was from an airplane flight, well, 4 airplane flights within a couple days, all scrunched together, which is what created a break in my thoracic duct. But anyway, all of that. But getting better, on the other hand, was an incredibly gradual process. And I didn't even know if I was headed in the right direction. So, what brings me to this reflection and this way of thinking is the weather. So, we went from a blizzard to a mini blizzard, and then everything. Oops, I have music on in the background, but it just went into a commercial. Um, so after the mini blizzard, things started to clear up because the weather changed. Again, it wasn't an overnight process, but it happened more gradually. And then it was like I started to feel my spring allergies come. I'm like, it's spring. We're having spring. I have this incredibly beautiful tree outside my window that I love. Love it every time of the year. And I could see little buds start to come. And I'm like, yeah, it's spring. And then we have today, it's cold and rainy and very damp, and we're supposed to be getting wind and my friend, and it's about an hour from here, they're due to get snow. I don't think we're getting snow. I think we're just getting rain. But anyway, it's that kind of a up and down process. So I want to talk about the healing process, or the in many ways with chronic conditions like many of us have. Hi, Julie. Oh, good. Eat lunch, enjoy. Julie says she's listening while she's eating her lunch. Um, so that process of, you know, getting better. So let me go back to that as my metaphor, because I was so sick, as you know, because I say it all the time. I was so sick. My lymphatic system was broken, and we just don't have the kind of knowledge and understanding of the lymphatic system that we need. Thank God I found Dr. Perry. And then I started to go and see Dr. Perry, which was almost 2 years ago. I started going down to New Jersey in order to have sessions with him, which was not an easy, it wasn't an easy trek. It's 10 hours. I couldn't drive. First of all, I had gotten into a kerfuffle. I had gotten into an accident, and I brought my car in to be repaired. And the guy who repaired it, it was a restoration shop. And I said numerous times, I said over and over again, please be sure the car can be repaired. It wouldn't drive. It wouldn't drive. And so I ended up having the car towed to the shop. He said it could be fixed, that it would be okay. I trusted him. Not a good move. He went ahead and did the repair on the outside of the car. He fixed the scratches and dents when the car wouldn't run, and then eventually said it needs a new motor. It was just a horror show. So what I ended up doing is hiring someone to drive me to Dr. Perry. This is the journey. I'm talking about the complexities that can often come in the journey. And so when finally I was starting to go down to New Jersey, which I would go, well, I started going once a month, and I would go and have a hands-on session with him. And sometimes it would be once every 3 weeks, but it was roughly. And in the beginning, it was incredibly slow, but I could feel changes. I could feel myself getting better. And it was enough for me to keep going. It was enough. It was enough for me to keep going. And that's what happened. So it took, I should track it. It took a long time. And then I would I would come home from a session, and I would do the big 6, which oh, Bella's here to say hi. She wants attention. She shows up every time I do, mostly every time I do this. Anyway, I would feel myself getting better, and I would, I would send an email to Dr. Perry and I would say, I feel better. I can breathe better. So the kinds of things is I had a lot of difficulty breathing. I had an incredibly distended belly. I looked like I had a beer belly that guys get, these big beer bellies, and it was all swelling. Oops, she's insistent. Okay, you can sit here. Um, I had oh my God, I had such an intense weight gain. It was just, I want to say tragic. Like I had done everything right for so long. And it was just, oh my God. And the worst part of it all is that I was so sick. I kept falling asleep. And I'm not talking about at night. I'm talking about being in staff meetings and falling asleep. I'm talking about, doing, my life and falling asleep in the middle of things. It was brain fog. It was the lymphatic system. Sorry, you guys. Once I start talking about this, it like all these things start swirling around. And so, but I started to notice small changes. And those small changes were a little bit of encouragement. And that went on for quite a while. At least, it could have been at least 8 to 10 months. And it could have been as long as a year or more. But then at one point, it was as if everything caught up with everything else. And someone in one of the support groups said to me, Catherine, you're back. And it was exactly what I had been thinking to myself. I feel like I'm back. I had been gone and now I'm back. And I'm talking about it because I want to talk about the way that transitions happen. Because sometimes they are so slow. They take the longest time. And then at some point, you look back and you go, oh my God, I can see it. I can see how it got better and better and better slowly over time. And then all of a sudden, I was back or whatever, because I'm saying this because we all have different versions of this. We each have a version where there's something that we want to change. And when it doesn't change the way we want it to, or as quickly as we want it to, we think it's not happening. But it is. And that's what's important for us to recognize the small steps that tend to move us forward. It's those small things, one after the other, and the recognition of sort of connecting the dots where it begins to come and say, wow, there really is a change happening. There really is healing happening. Now, with a chronic disease like we have, it's not ever going to go away entirely unless they come up with some magic miracle, something or other. But in the meantime, there are things and parts and symptoms that do get better. And that's where we need to put our energy, our heart, our focus, our loving, our gratitude, our appreciation, and sharing as well. So, yeah, that's my message for today. And I hope you're all well. I hope my transition into spring is now peppered with rain and wind and mini nor'easter. But I'm here. Bella is purring away. It was lovely, lovely, lovely to connect with you all. And I am wishing you a wonderful rest of weekend. All right, Bella, I gotta get to the button. I'm such a cat person, you guys.